and welcome to a second date with a Ford Mustang, but this time it's a proper American V8. Hello and welcome to this quick review of Ford Mustang GT. That's the 2016 GT V8 5-litre 421 horsepower engine, stock. Nothing has been modified. It's got the track apps with line lock, which you're going to see in a moment, and it's got launch control. You can limit the revs from which you launch, so you can get your perfect launch with your perfect revs depending on how much you want to burn the clutch. Yeah. I'm not going to do a full review of the car because I've reviewed the 2.3 EcoBoost, and from a usability standpoint the cockpit is the same. Okay, this one has optional Recaro seats, but otherwise it's pretty much the same car. There is not much place in the back. It's got a pretty good space. This one has Brembo brakes, which are excellent. At least they feel excellent at first because they bite from the top, but then the car starts to dive. Like the EcoBoost, this one dives. This one is a big boat. It is stiffer, but it's still a big car. It weighs 1600 and a bit kilograms. It's about 70 or 80 kilograms heavier than the EcoBoost, and I expected it to be heavier actually, but it is slightly heavier and it still dives. Time from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 4.8 seconds, which is 1 second faster than the EcoBoost. It's also, well, it's got about 100 newton meters more of torque, so it's more torquey. The gear shifter, it feels heavier than in the EcoBoost, but this car has done 17,000 kilometers with journalists, so it may have something to do with the clutch. But at the same time, it doesn't make this satisfying click like the EcoBoost gearbox did. This one doesn't do that, so that's a shame. Has anything else changed? Well, fuel consumption has changed, obviously. This one does about 15 and a half, and I've been in, let's say, combined cycle. It's more extra urban than urban, but yeah. So it uses a lot of fuel, and most of this fuel is used, unfortunately, in traffic. Obviously, this one doesn't have stop and start system. It feels massively fast because of the torque. I mean, there is just torque and acceleration, and I'm in an urban area, so I can't really show you what's going on, how fast it is, but it's really fast. However, when you're on a motorway and you're in 6th gear, sort of cruising, let's say, you will need to drop a gear or two if you want to overtake at motorway speeds. It's very comfortable, and at motorway speeds around 140 kilometers per hour, it's got what, 2,500 RPM, so that's nothing. This engine is not strained at all, but I think the EcoBoost engine was more usable in everyday life. I mean, it used less fuel, it wasn't as raw. Okay, so you do buy a Mustang because it's raw, because it has the power, because it's a bad boy, right? But the thing is, if you're looking for an everyday car, this is not going to be your everyday car. A 2.3 EcoBoost is going to be your everyday car. This, not really. This is going to be a weekend car, maybe a track car, maybe a car you're going to go out and do a couple of burnouts in, but you're not going to drive it every day, at least not in Europe. I mean, I'm sure in the States there's a bunch of you hillbillies who say, this is a perfect car, this or the Camaro. Well, for Europe, nah. Too much of an American dream, and once you start living the American dream, you don't like it. Also, compared to the EcoBoost, this doesn't feel... It just feels heavy. In the EcoBoost, when you played around with the steering control modes, with the driving mode, so there's a track, sport and whatever, you felt the difference. In this one, I think it's just there because they didn't want to leave empty spaces in the place of the buttons, but it's not really necessary. It just feels the same all the time, just fast. Okay, so when you turn off the traction control, yeah, this is something the EcoBoost couldn't do. In the EcoBoost, no matter how fast you went, you just couldn't get the tail out. In this one, you just step on the gas, and provided your traction control is off or limited, this thing will start dancing, and this is beautiful, and this is something that brings a smile to my face. However, I'm not sure if I want to pay the extra, what, 5,000 euro for the car, and then God knows how much in fuel, for just this little bit of extra weekend fun. I mean, if you want a European bad boy, go for a Toyota GT86, and if you like the looks of it, because damn, this thing looks good, go for the 2.3 EcoBoost. You're gonna hate me. You're hating me right now. Right, if you don't hate me so much, click that subscribe button if you like or don't like what I'm saying. Perhaps you might want to sponsor me on Patreon or contribute to my PayPal. I bought these two cameras thanks to you guys, so thanks a lot for that, and I'll see you next time. So now let's try the line lock. So we're going into track apps, press OK to initialize, press the brake, press OK, and now it's ready. And it's burning rubber, and press OK to go. If you could see the cloud of smoke. Hey there, I thought I'll do a short postscriptum to this Ford Mustang review, well, to my second date with the Ford Mustang, and the best way to do it is actually in my MX-5. Now, I know that despite the MX-5 being often called a hairdresser's car, the controls aren't exactly as light as in some normal regular hatchbacks. So to give you a sensation of how hard, how tough, how brutal the Ford Mustang is, the V8 version, let me just tell you that when I got back into my MX-5 just about 15 minutes ago, because I just handed the car over to Ford Press Fleet, I stepped on the clutch and and it just went down all the way, and the clutch is now so light, and so is the gearbox, and I can barely feel it. That's how tough, how brutal the Ford Mustang really is. So if you want a car that's so brutal as your everyday car, think about that. Think about that very, very carefully. Otherwise, a great car with great sound and great heritage, I guess.